You are listening to KSG Podcast. This is a short, crisp, concise, exam oriented, edited editorial for civil services aspirants. In this podcast, we are going to talk about NASA's Voyager 2 continuing its journey. Source for the content is the Indian Express. Over 45 years ago, NASA's Voyager 2 spacecraft left Earth to embark on a journey to the outer planets and beyond. The journey continues to this day. Voyager 2, the first of two spacecraft part of this mission, lifted off on 20th of August 1977, taking advantage of a rare planetary alignment to use the gravity of one planet to propel itself to another. Even though the Voyager mission only targeted Jupiter and Saturn, Voyager 2 went on to explore Uranus and Neptune as well. Voyager 1 was launched on 5th of September of the same year. The pair of spacecraft carries sophisticated instruments for the in-depth exploration of outer planets. They both continue to return data as they are heading out of the solar system and into interstellar space. Now let's talk about the origin of the Voyager mission. The Voyager mission has its origins in the 1960s when mission designers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory observed that the next alignment of outer planets, a rare event that occurs only once every 175 years, would happen in the late 1970s. At the time, technology was advanced enough to take advantage of this alignment to fly a spacecraft by Jupiter and use its gravity to visit Saturn as well, to then repeat the process to visit Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. This was an ideal scenario since launching several missions to each planet individually would have been an expensive affair that also took much more time. The space agency developed a plan to send two pairs of thermoelectric outer planet spacecraft on these grand tours. But that plan was cancelled in 1971 as it proved too costly. NASA Administrator James C. Fletcher announced on the 7th of March 1977 the renaming of two Mariner spacecraft to Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. At the time, scientists held out hope that one of them could eventually visit Uranus and Neptune, fulfilling the original objectives of the cancelled Grand Tour mission. Now, talking about the launch of the Voyager mission, Voyager 2 was the first to leave the planet and was launched on a Titan IIIE-Centaur rocket from Launch Complex 21 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Even though Voyager 1 was launched 2 weeks later, it traveled on a faster trajectory and arrived at Jupiter 4 months earlier than Voyager 2. Between 10th of December 1977 and 21st of October 1978, Voyager 2 successfully crossed the asteroid belt. However, its primary radio failed in April 1978 and it has been operating on its backup receiver ever since then. Now, talking about Voyager 2 observing Jupiter and Saturn, between 24th of April and 5th of August 1979, Voyager 2 conducted observations of Jupiter with its closest approach of around 563,000 kilometers above the gas giant's cloud tops on 9th of July. Voyager 2 returned 17,000 images of Jupiter and its satellites and also helped confirm Voyager 1's discovery of a thin ring encircling the planet. The spacecraft also returned information about the planet's atmospheric and magnetic field. It then used Jupiter's gravity to bend its trajectory and accelerate towards Saturn. On the 5th of June 1981, Voyager 2 began its long-range observations of Saturn and passed within 41,000 kilometers of the planet's cloud tops on 26th of August before concluding its observations on 4th of September. It captured 16,000 photographs of Saturn, its rings, and mainly of its satellites. Apart from discovering many new satellites, Voyager 2's instruments also returned data about the ringed planet's atmosphere. The planet's gravity then sent the spacecraft on its journey to Uranus. Now, going beyond and making observations about Uranus and Neptune. Between 4th of November 1985 and 25th of February 1986, Voyager 2 conducted close-up observations of Uranus, making its closest approach of around 81,500 kilometers above the planet's cloud tops on 25th of January 1986. The spacecraft returned over 7,000 photos of the planet, its ring, and moons. It also discovered 2 new rings and 11 new moons. Voyager 2's instruments also returned data concerning the planet's atmosphere and its unusual magnetic field. The spacecraft then used Uranus's gravity to launch itself towards its last planetary stop, Neptune. Between 5th June and 2nd of October 1989, it conducted close-up observations of the planet, flying as close as around 5,400 kilometers above the North Pole of the 8th planet on 25th of August. On this trajectory, it also observed Neptune's largest moon, Triton. the last solid object it explored. During its observations of Uranus, Voyager 2 returned more than 9,000 images of the planet, its atmosphere, dark rings, and moons. It also discovered 6 new moons. The spacecraft helped discover that Neptune also had an unusual magnetic field like Uranus, tilted 47 degrees from the planet's axis and significantly offset from its center. Now, finally, talking about Voyager 2's interstellar journey. After its observation of Neptune, the spacecraft began its interstellar mission that continues to this day. Over the years, many of Voyager 2's instruments had to be turned off to conserve power, starting with the imaging system in 1998. Currently, the spacecraft is more than 19 billion kilometers away from Earth. In fact, it is so far away that it takes 18 hours for radio signals from the spacecraft to reach here. With it being so far away from the sun, it is a remarkable scientific achievement that it can continue to return data. Over 45 years ago, NASA engineers had prepared for the possibility that an alien intelligence found the spacecraft. Voyager 2, just like Voyager 1, carries a gold-plated record that contains information about Earth, including recordings of sounds, music, and greetings in 55 languages. Engineers also included instructions on how to play the record. That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. To join KSG India courses and to crack the IIIE exam, visit ksgindia.com. You can also get a PDF of this podcast on ksgindia.com. Thanks for listening and do subscribe to our channel.